Hey everyone, Chandler here, and as you can see by the title of this video, this is going to be a bit more of a personal video. I asked on Twitter if you wanted to see a personal video or an informational video about identities. I'm going to do both of them, I just didn't know which to do first, so the informational one is going to be next Sunday, and this Sunday is going to be a personal video about relationships that I have had. I'm going to be talking about 3 different relationships. So, let's go! Woo! So first things first, disclaimer, not every person I have dated has been a horrible ex. I have dated a couple people that still to this day are like really close friends with me. Also, another quick disclaimer, I do not get back with my exes, ever. So stop telling me that I should get back with Peyton. Also, another fun fact, I have a boyfriend. Woo! His name is Elliot. And I know a lot of people want me to make a video with him, but we haven't been dating that long, obviously, so I don't want to do that yet. But maybe. So I'm going to be talking about 3 different people in this video, and all 3 of these people I have dated during my time in high school. So these are high school relationships that I have had. So I'm not going to call them by their names, I'm just going to say like the first letter or something. So the first person I'm going to be talking about is this girl that I dated when I was a freshman in high school, and we're gonna call her Kay. And I dated her for a month, and she was very, very controlling, which is why it didn't last long. She was very emotionally abusive and manipulative, and all 3 of the people I'm going to be talking about, that's a common theme. I was dating her at the time where I thought that I might be a trans guy, but I was so in the closet about it, I wasn't talking to anyone about it, and so I was very public about the idea that I was a lesbian because I didn't want people to know that I thought that maybe I could be trans. And so I was dating this girl, and she was very forward, and as a person who is also on the asexual spectrum, that was very like bothersome for me, but at the time I didn't know that's what was going on, so I didn't really have a reason to tell her that I wasn't interested in such things, other than the fact that I'm younger than you, I'm only a freshman in high school. Like, that was my constant reasoning when I was talking to her, but I would later find out that it was because I'm on the asexual spectrum. And she would get really, really jealous about my friends from my hometown, which if you don't know, I was born in North Carolina and I currently live in Virginia. And so I remember I liked one of my friend's photos on Facebook, and I remember the very next day Kay came to me, whipped out her phone and was like, "Who's this? Do you like her? Are you flirting with her?" And she kept over and over again like, "Who is she? You like her?" And I was just like, no! Like, I grew up with this person, they were my friend, and they're straight. They didn't, oh my god. I was so affronted by just like pure shock that I was like, no, I don't like that person that way, what are you talking about? It didn't hit me as like a red flag that she was very, very controlling about who I would talk to until after it started getting to the point where she's like actually telling me that she doesn't like me talking to these person, or that she doesn't like this or that, and I was just like, what the heck is this? Like, I don't understand. She was very, very emotionally abusive in the way that she would say really mean insults to me. As you can see, I've got a pretty petite stature. I'm very, very skinny, and it's obvious. She would make comments to me saying that I looked fragile and breakable, and saying that she didn't even want to hug me because she thought she would break me, and how she would say things like I'm a stick and it's gross, and like all these other things that she would say, that like she would say that she could sit on me and break me, and she didn't even want to touch me because I was just so skinny. And I really didn't know how to react to that. Like, I was just shocked because at the time I was down on myself about being skinny too, because in my head, I was thinking that maybe I was a trans guy, and in my head, with my body dysphoria at the time, I wanted to be muscular, I wanted to have sideburns, like, that was what was going on with my body dysphoria at the time. And then I have this person here who's supposed to love me, and then they're telling me that I'm basically disgusting and that I repulse them. And I'm like, what? And then that relationship came to an end. And she was extremely into public displays of affection, PDA. And she wanted to kiss me at school all of the time. And it really bothered me because I have a very, very big personal problem with PDA. It makes me feel uncomfortable. And I did not know at the time that I was on the aromantic spectrum. And I remember at that time I was so romance repulsed because of that I ended up not wanting to kiss anyone or hold anyone's hands or be in any sort of romantic situation with anyone for almost a year and a half. I was very, very romance repulsed. I was just grossed out by it. And then that ended with the next person that I'm going to talk about. We're going to call her D. And we started hanging out. We went on a couple dates, and then she just stopped talking to me for a month. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I would wave to her at school, and she would just kind of give me the dirty eye, like just give me a side eye. And I was like, what the heck? Like, we went on dates. What happened? And I would always like, hi, in the hallways, and she'd just kind of ignore me, like blatantly ignore me. And I didn't know what to feel or what to think. So I finally tried messaging her after trying to talk to her in person for a month of her ignoring me. But I messaged her, and she went off on me, and I'm like, what the heck? And she said, like, you've been ignoring me for a month? Like, you just ditched me and all this other stuff? And I'm like, what are you talking about? I tried to talk to you in person multiple times, and you just kept ignoring me. And I asked her, what do you want from me? She told me that she wanted to be my girlfriend. And at the time, I was just really confused. Like, she manipulated me into me asking her to be my girlfriend because I felt like it was the only way to make her feel good about herself, because she had thought that I had ditched her for a month, which was completely untrue. I thought, well, how do I make her realize that I actually do care, that I didn't ditch her for a month? And for her, the only way to do that was for me to ask her to be my girlfriend. So I did that, and we ended up dating for almost 2 months. And it went downhill pretty quickly, which is why it didn't last long. She was the type of person that didn't really want to spend time with me. She completely ignored me in the halls still, even when we were together. And for a person who didn't like public displays of affection, I was fine with that, because in my head, I didn't want to engage in public displays of affection. In my head, I thought maybe this is a good thing. But then I realized, well, it feels like she doesn't even like me, so what's the point in being with her if she goes out of her way to ignore me? And I would bring it up to her, and she's like, I'm just in a bad place right now. And I'm like, well, you can talk to me, because that's what I want to do, is I want to help you. I'm with you. I want to help you. Then she went an entire week completely avoiding me. She wouldn't talk to me at all. And I would message her, and I'm like, hey, you can come talk to me about these things if you're like going through something. After a week of her avoiding me, not talking to me, I decided it really feels like she doesn't like me. I don't want this in a relationship. She kept saying how I was a bad relationship partner, and I'm like, what did I do that was bad? Like, all I've done is ask you how you've been and try to get you to talk to me, but you keep ignoring me, like, for extensive amounts of time. So then she kept turning it around and making it seem like I was a bad person, and I didn't know how to respond to that, because she was like blatantly lying. One day I walked up to her and I said, I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. And she just kind of stopped and stared at me and went, okay. And that was that. And then 2 months later, I tried talking to her again to ask her if she was okay. And she told me that she hated me, that she thought I was a horrible person, that I was mean and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you won't tell me anything. I've always been there asking how you're doing and asking you about what's going on, and you just won't talk to me about anything. And then you're gonna say that I'm horrible. Like, but why am I horrible? If you think I'm horrible, about something, I want to know so that maybe I can try and change what's going on, do something, because life is hard and I don't want to be one who makes it harder on anyone else. She said, I don't want to talk to you anymore, and I was like, okay, alright, I will leave, I will go. Then she kept messaging again how I was a bad person, how she didn't want to be my friend, how she didn't want me in her life, and I just, okay, I said I would go. Then after I broke up with her is when I started dating P. And with this person, we dated for a while. The beginning of the relationship was really, really great, actually. I remember we thought about being in a relationship for like 5 months or something. Maybe it was about 5 months that we were going on dates, that we were hanging out outside of school, that we both exclusively liked each other. And then after we started dating, nothing had changed. We were still very happy to be with each other and very excited to be with each other. We had dated for a while, and this was still during end of sophomore, beginning of junior year type area time points in my life. We had been dating for a while, and after a while, and I mean like after months, it started going really downhill. But the thing is like you can't tell after it's been so long that something's gradually going downhill. So like I didn't notice that it was going downhill. After a while, she started acting a lot differently, but at the same time she was still like the same person. And so she would gradually start saying really manipulative things, and I was very confused because she had never been that way before. But it was like just like subtle poking that she was doing. I didn't think anything of it at first, but then when I realized like I've dated manipulative people before, and it started clicking like, wait, this is manipulative, like this is actually bad. And so for months we started fighting on and off, like repeatedly, and I started getting really scared. Like I was terrified. I didn't feel like I could come talk to her about my problems. I didn't feel like I could trust her with anything. I didn't feel like I had a safe space in that relationship to be able to talk and express myself. Because anytime that I felt any way that contradicted with how she felt, she would lash out at me. And she would say things like, well, if you're so unhappy, like, why are you with me? I'm such a girlfriend. You should just leave. Like, if I'm such a piece of shit, why do you hate me so much? Why are you with me? Just leave. Just go away. And I would say like, hey, I'm struggling with something right now. Can I talk to you? And then she'd hit me with all of these comments, and it would turn from me looking for advice to me having to reassure her for like hours on end. No, you're not a bad girlfriend. Yes, I do love you. And this would happen multiple times a month, like just multiple times, where I couldn't talk to her anymore. And that's what it ended up with, is I didn't feel like I could go talk to her about anything. And I was genuinely scared because I knew she would lash out at me and that she would hurt me. But I figured it was worth the sacrifice. In my head, it seemed, because I'm thinking, I know that she's dealing with something. I know that she's struggling. I want to be there to help her because I know at this point in our lives, I'm the only person who can help her. So for me, it was worth sacrificing my happiness to ensure hers. Months of that happened, and then finally, like, the breaking point happened where I had sacrificed so much in my life that I just felt completely drained. I didn't feel like I could give any more to this person, even if I tried. And I remember I skipped my homecoming game for her, and she was feeling really sick and really lonely, so I skipped the game. I drove 20 minutes to her house, 20 minutes back to my house. We watched a movie, and then I drove her 20 minutes back home, and then 20 minutes back to my place. Then the very next day was the homecoming dance, which for me was very important. I wanted to go. I wanted to spend time with my friends. I don't, like, put my happiness before anyone else's, ever. For me, this was, like, a really big deal because I would never do something for myself, and I would never put my happiness first in any sort of situation. But this was just one thing that I really wanted. And so I remember I was getting ready for the dance, and then, like, 3 hours before it starts, she messages me and she says, hey, we need to talk. And I said, okay, talk to me. Like, tell me what's going on. She said, don't go to the dance. Skip it. Come be with me. She says, I know, why would you want to spend time with the sick girl when you could be looking hot and dancing to shitty rap music with your friends? My immediate response was I text my best friend who's going to the dance, and I say, hey, I'm not going to the dance. And then I text back my girlfriend at the time, if you want, I could come over right now and I could spend some hours with you and then I could just show up to the dance late. And she goes, no, it's fine. And at first I was kind of shocked that she said that. And so I said, are you disappointed in me? And she said to me, I just wish I was more important to you than some dance. And I was so affronted by the comment that I just kind of, wow, thanks. Because I had spent months of my life dedicated to this person, doing everything for them, going out of my way on so many occasions, draining myself, literally, putting my own mental health at risk just so that I could help out with theirs. And then the one time I want to go to something as dumb as a dance and it sparks up a huge fight. And she said, this is just one night, I'm supposed to be your entire future. And I was just like blinded by it almost. Like I really wasn't expecting this sort of level of like manipulative like speech going on. I was already in my life scared to disappoint her, scared to do something that would disagree with her, scared to put my own happiness first, scared to be like an individual because I couldn't do anything in that relationship if it wasn't agreeing or compliant with something that she wanted. Her wants, her desires, her needs always came first the entire time. And this was the one time that I really wanted to do something for myself, even though it conflicted with what she wanted. And I said to her, well, by that logic, if this is only one night, then I should go. And if I'll have you for my whole future, then I'll have plenty of time to spend with you. And she was pissed off. She was so mad that I said something like that she started yelling at me and going off on me and saying how I don't offer her what she needs and all this other stuff. I gave her so many examples of all these times that I've sacrificed stuff for her. And I said, I literally sacrificed the game yesterday for you. Really? And so I said to her, look, this is manipulative and I don't appreciate it. I want to go to the dance, so I'm going to the dance. And she said, it's not manipulative, it's just how I feel. And I was like, no. How you feel is, I'm sick, I'm lonely, I wish you would come hang out with me instead of going to the dance. Manipulative is, I just wish I was more important to you than some dance. This is just one night, I'm supposed to be your whole future. And then I found out later that afterwards, she called one of our mutual friends and just cried and complained to her the entire night about how horrible of a partner I am and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, wow, I'm not allowed to do anything for myself without suddenly being a horrible partner. And I felt really, really bad. And I texted her, I said, can I come over? Can we talk? And she was like, yeah, sure. And I came over. I was bawling my eyes out and we were trying to work through this fight. And she was just listening to me and arguing with me the entire time and I was bawling my eyes out. I told her basically that I wanted to see what her perspective was and tell her like what I really meant so that there was no miscommunication. And then she says her classic line, I'm sorry, I'll fix it. I'll try to explode less. I'm so sorry. And as I was driving home after that, it hit me. She says that every time. Every time during any fight, that's all she says is, I'm sorry, I'll fix it, I swear, I'll try to explode less. And I still felt too scared to talk to her. I still felt too scared to communicate any of my feelings to her. I couldn't trust her. I was terrified of her. I was terrified of her because I knew that she could hurt me. I knew that she could say things that would just completely break me easily. And she had so much of me because I had dedicated so much of myself to her in that relationship that I knew that she was capable of that. And I was just terrified. And after months of debating it, I finally got up the courage to break up with her. And it took a lot. It was ridiculous. And I remember I was bawling my eyes out. I was crying like crazy, which is not something that I had ever really done with any of my other exes. And she didn't even cry even a single tear at that moment. She said to me, like, look, I support you. If this is what you need to do, then I want you to do it. I want you to be okay. And I remember I was crying on the way home, and I had to drive at half the speed limit because I couldn't see. And I was saying, like, she's such a good person. I can't believe she reacted that way and all these other things. And then the very next day, everything changed, and she was giving me mean looks at school. She was whispering about me. She was lying. She was mocking me and stuff. And I was just like, what? The person who a day ago said, look, I support you in your decisions. I want you to do what you need. I want you to make life best for you, blah, blah, blah. And then not even 24 hours passes, and she just completely flip-flops and starts treating me horribly. And I was just completely in shock. And I tried so hard to be her friend multiple times, and people kept saying, like, all of our mutual friends kept saying, look, you need to get out of this, like, this relationship was unhealthy and you've broken up with her, so now you need to, like, move on, blah, 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 like, go forward in your life. I just didn't. I just kept messaging her, checking if she was okay. All the things that I had already done for a year and a half of my life, I just kept saying, like, over and over again. I would just keep messaging her, and she would just keep sending me crap. And there was 1 week where we were actually good enough friends where she actually finally let me vent about my problems and didn't get mad at me, which is something she didn't even offer me in the last half of our relationship. Then she just completely changed again, and she just kept lashing out at me and saying, she kept spreading lies. She kept spreading a bunch of exaggerated stories to make herself look better. She kept saying how I broke her heart, and I'm like, I was even more invested in that relationship than she ever was. My heart was broken just as much, if not more, and I was the one who went through so much crap in that relationship and spent so much of my time trying to make the relationship better for her. She kept spreading around these lies and exaggerating stories and just all around fakeness and just sneaky stuff and just being extremely sly and then lying about it. And then there was just so much proof. Like, she literally made comments about her being like a sneaky, sly mouse or whatever. It was just ridiculous stuff about her being under the radar rude and poking at me and reeling me back into her life when I just needed to get out of that situation. And all of my friends kept saying, like, you needed to get out. And we were mutual friends with many people, and they all told me, like, it was unhealthy for you. We all saw it. We're glad you're out, but you need to, like, stay out. Stop letting her reel you back into her life. She's trying to hurt you. She wants you back. All this other stuff. And it was just ridiculous. And so finally I had decided that I couldn't put up with it anymore, that, like, I ended the relationship. I needed to end all ties with her, otherwise it was just going to keep hurting me. And she keeps playing the victim, saying that I abandoned her, and literally, like, 5 people were mad at me because I didn't abandon her. Like, she keeps spreading these lies about how I abandoned her, when literally so many people were pissed off at me at the fact that I wouldn't leave because I kept talking to her and I kept asking her how she was feeling. And it was ridiculous. And then when I finally accepted the fact that my happiness matters, I need to put my happiness first too. Like, it's important. It should never, in a healthy relationship, be that you have to ask permission to be yourself, that you have to ask permission to be able to talk, that you should have to ask permission to express yourself and do what makes you happy, do what you need to do for yourself and for your mental health. It should never be something you have to compromise in a relationship. And so that's what I really wanted to get across in this video, is that it should never be a situation where you feel like you're not allowed to make decisions for yourself or talk for yourself or express yourself or do what you need to do for yourself or anything that makes you happy. Like, your happiness is not something that you should feel the obligation to sacrifice. Your happiness is not something that you should be willing to sacrifice in a relationship 24/7. There are moments where we are going to have to make sacrifices in relationships, and that makes sense. But you shouldn't feel like you are not allowed to be happy. You shouldn't feel like you are not allowed to put your happiness first just once. You shouldn't feel like you can't come talk or come trust this person that you're with. And that should be the same way with friendships and with other partnerships that you're in. You should never feel like you are of lesser value than the person you are with. You should always feel equal to them. You should always feel just as strong as an individual as you are with them. You should never put your strength second, your happiness second to them. It should always be an equal domain, an equal relationship in every sense of the word. It should always be two individuals together rather than one relationship. That's what makes it healthy, is acknowledging that these two people are individuals. They are strong individual people, deserving of feelings, deserving of happiness, deserving of safe space, deserving of security, deserving of expression and self-awareness. And you deserve that. Everyone deserves that. Everyone deserves to be able to stay themselves, even when in a relationship. I didn't learn that until 3 months ago, that you should never feel powerless in a relationship. I really hope that you learned something from this video and that maybe it helped you open your eyes if you're in an unhealthy situation, or if maybe you've been there and you can connect with me on some sort of level. And that's it for this video. If you liked this video and you felt like you could connect with something, I would love for you to click the like button down below or subscribe, or you could follow me on Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, or Facebook, Snapchat, any of those wonderful things. So thank you for listening to me rant. I know this video is going to be long, I'm sorry, but it means a lot to me, and I will see you next time. Bye!